Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be demonstrating a new feature available in the Extended Geoprocessing plugin for Simple GIS Client. And this Extended Geoprocessing plugin is a plugin extension available from our website. And the particular function I'm going to be demonstrating today is going to be taking a single banded raster image, in this case a TIFF image, and generate a shapefile from that raster image based upon the unique sample values. So in this case, for today's demonstration, I'm going to be using a land cover usage TIFF image. And like I said, I'm going to be demonstrating a function that's going to take some sample values out of that TIFF image and generate polygons into a shapefile from those sample values. So this particular function is found underneath the main geoprocessing menu. So when you load the Extended Geoprocessing plugin, it's going to insert a new set of menus that can be found under this main geoprocessing drop-down menu under your map data view document in Simple GIS Client. And so if you click on your geoprocessing menu and you go down towards the very bottom, you'll see a new menu option called Extended Geoprocessing Plugin. And as you move your mouse over this menu option, it'll expand out, exposing several additional menu options. And the one that I'm going to be demonstrating today is called Polygonize Raster. And if I was to actually click on this menu option, I would get a new dialog box that would come up. And so in this particular dialog box, I need to, the very first thing is to select the actual TIFF image that I want to vectorize or generate polygons from. And so I do that by simply clicking on this button with the open folder icon. And as I do that, it'll open up a file selection dialog box, and I would just navigate to the folder location and then just simply select the TIFF image that I'm wanting to generate the polygons from. So in this particular case, this is the land use cover image that I want to use. So I'm just simply going to double click on that file name, and as I do, I see that it puts the full path and file name here underneath the select TIFF image to convert. The next option I can do is actually specify a filter for the values that I want to use in my analysis or to generate the shapefile from. So I can specify a filter type as being either exclusive or inclusive. And all that means is if it's set to exclusive, any values that I list in this list box under filtered values will be excluded from being populated in my resulting shapefile. If I set the filter type to inclusive, then only values that's in this list box will be considered in the generation of my shapefile. So inclusive, it's only going to generate polygons for the values that are included in this list box. Exclusive, it'll generate polygons for all values except those listed in this list box. So for this particular demo, for instance, I could look at the metadata for this particular TIFF image, and I just so happen to have it pulled up here on my browser. And if I look at the metadata, it actually specifies different categorization codes, and these are the actual sample values in the TIFF image. And this just gives you the definition of what these sample values mean. So for instance, in this example, if I was only interested in looking at all samples dealing with soybeans, for instance, so if I wanted to look at soybean crop, the number of the acreage, for instance, of soybean, I could look at what categorization code contains soybeans. So obviously I see one here, a sample value of 5 is soybeans. And then if I was to continue to look through this list, I also see that there's some additional categorization codes like this 26 here, which represents a double crop, winter wheat and soybeans. And then as you continue to scroll down, you may find some others. So once you've decided what sample values that you're interested in, you can decide what type of filter works best for you. So in this case, if I was only interested in soybeans, what I would likely do then is I come back to my dialog box here. If I bring that back up and just kind of move it to the side, I would probably want to use an inclusive filter and only select certain or specific values that I want to include in my analysis. So obviously the first one here is for soybeans 5. I want that. So I simply type in the 5, and I can either hit this double arrow button here or simply hit the enter key on my keyboard to add it to my list of values. And then if I look down and maybe I want to include 26 also. And then if I continue to scroll down, I see that I may have some other values here that is dealing with soybeans as well. So here are several here, 239, 240, and 241. So if I wanted to include these as well. And so now if this were all the values that I wanted to include and specify, I now have my filter set, and now I just need to select the name of the new shapefile to create. So again, kind of like when I specified the TIFF image that I want to process this from, to select or enter my new shapefile name, I simply click on this folder icon button to the right, and now I navigate to the folder of where I want to save my shapefile to, and I can either enter in a new file name for my shapefile, or I can overwrite an existing shapefile by simply selecting it from the this list here. So in this case, I'm just going to overwrite this existing shapefile called land. So do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. And I see as I select that, it places that here now the full path name and file name for the shapefile I'm going to create. And now that I have all of this set, I'm going to come back and I'll just shrink this so I'm back at my map. And now I'm just going to simply click the apply button. And now I see that it is starting to process my image. It'll actually, in this particular case, you can see this is a fairly large image, 16,700 pixels wide by almost 15,000 pixels high. And in this processing, to aid in the processing, it actually will break down a large image into a system of tiles. So this just tells me the number of tiles that it has broken it into and which file it is currently, or which tile it's currently processing. And so since this operation is going to take a couple of minutes for it to complete this operation, I'm just going to go ahead and pause the video right now for a few minutes, and then we'll come back once this process is finished. And so now we're back, and this process is just finishing up the last few tiles here. And it is now just completed. And so now it's asking, do we wish to add our new shapefile to our current map? And I'm going to select yes. And it's now added this new shapefile, the polygons generated from this raster image based upon those sample values that we had in our filter. So I'm going to turn the image off for now just so that we can see this a little bit clearer. And we can even come and we can actually set the legend on this shapefile. So I'm going to double click on the layer in my table of contents to bring up the layer properties. And underneath the legend, I'm going to change my symbol somewhat. I'm actually just going to choose one of these polygon symbols that doesn't have a border but just has the solid fill. And then I'm going to set the legend type to unique. And I'm going to change my classification field to value. And so what this is going to do, I'm going to generate a unique symbol based upon each unique value in this field, which should just be those sample values that we had included in our filter. So if I go ahead and I click underneath my grid here under my legend that says add unique values, it'll go through my list of feature records in my shapefile and will actually add a new symbol for each unique value that it found. So in this case, if I scroll down this list, I'll see these are actually the values that I had included in my filter. And so that's all I have at this point. So I'm going to click apply, and I see now that it kind of gives a different shading based upon these values. And if I was to zoom in just a little bit closer and get a better view on some of these polygons, I would see that these are the polygons that generated, and it looks like this this lime green or very light green here corresponds to this value of 5, and then this darker shade in the blue corresponds to a 26. And I can actually, since this is in a shapefile with this my active layer, I can use my view feature data tool to actually click on one of these polygons and display the data underneath. So yes, that is for the sample value of 5. And then if I was to click on this, and you can actually see the polygons flash as I click on it, and I see that this is indeed for the value of 26. And so now I have this in a polygon format, so I could do different types of analysis on this. So for instance, if I just wanted to know what the total acreage was for these different cropland values based upon these sample values, I could do that fairly simply now. I could simply go to my view menu on my map, go to the set view properties menu. That'll bring up the view properties dialog. And on this dialog, if I was to look along the right hand side, I see that I have this measure units radio group. And in this case, I'm going to select my measure units as acres for area measurement and feet for distance measurement. And then I also want to make sure I check this box that says display selected shape measurements. So I'll check that box and I'll click apply. Then I'm just going to do a quick query that's going to show me the acreage based upon a specific value. So for instance, with my land cover shapefile as my active layer, if I was to run an attribute query, so I click on that button, and I'm going to query where the value is equal to. And so I'm just double clicking on the field that I want to populate up here, and I double click on the operator comparison, which puts it here. And then over here, I'm just going to click this show unique values, which shows me all the unique values in my shapefile in this particular field. And let's say if I want it where value is 5, so I'll double click on that value, and I see it puts it in my expression. And I want this to be a new selection set, so I have that selected as a new set, and I click apply. It's now selecting all of those areas. I could even come here and select an area this way. And what I'm doing is I select a particular feature. For instance, if I was to click on this particular polygon here, that it only selects that one, I can see what the total acreage is here, since I had set my view properties to display the selected shape measurements. So I have one selected feature. In this case, this is all a single polygon feature that is selected that composes almost 2,000 acres. And so again, if I was to do an attribute query on this and say, for instance, where value equals 5, so it selects all polygons who has that value. Now when it selects all of those polygon features, I see that the total area of all of the polygons whose value was 5 is almost, let's see, that's almost 1.5 million acres, so 1,483,237 acres. And I could do that query for these other values as well. So if I wanted it where the value was 26, and the total acreage for those polygons that is selected, all polygons who equal that value, is 106,572 acres. So I'm seeing that down here in the bottom left in my status bar, where it's displaying the acreage and then the total perimeter as well. But I'm really looking at this acreage value that's being calculated here. And that is being calculated because under my view and set view property setting, I had selected this as my measure units, and I had checked this box to display selected shape measurements. So that is just the tool, and of course now that you have this in a shapefile, you can do other things too. I could export the selected shapes to a new layer if I wanted to. I could do spatial analysis on these by selecting other features that are falling within a particular polygon area or within a certain distance of it. So it just allows you to do much more analysis by converting that raster data into this shapefile. So that's it for the demonstration today. Again, this is the tool that's available in the Extended Geoprocessing plugin, and this plugin extension is available from a website at www.simplegissoftware.com. If you go underneath the products menu, and then as you go through the products, look for Simple GIS plugins, and you can see the plugins listed there. Another convenient way you can look at available plugins is actually directly from within Simple GIS Client. If you simply started a new project, or when you first open Simple GIS Client on your initial screen, there's a link on the left-hand side called Plugins. And as you click on this link, it will actually bring up to the available plugins manager, and it will give you the list of available plugins. And as you click on them, it will even let you know whether they've been installed, or if they haven't been installed, you can actually download and install them directly from this screen as well. And all of these come with a free 30-day trial, so you feel free to try them out and see what you can do with them. In any case, if you would like more information, I always encourage you to visit the website. Again, that website is www.simplegissoftware.com. Thank you.